Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the St. Louis podcast. I'm your glorious host today, Eric Brown, president of Vi Media and partner at Mogul Holdings. Today, we have Dan Abel Jr. of Chocolate Company and Bissinger's on the St. Louis podcast. We're going to get into the weeds with him and his business. But before we do, as always, this is St. Louis podcast each and every Friday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. We drop an episode on all major podcasting, audio, and video platforms. And we all must know the real question. Is it caramel or caramel?
Well, I always say it's caramel.
I've always said caramel.
Yeah, and I just think caramel is some European. I don't know. It drives me crazy. I feel like though I'm probably wrong, and it probably is caramel, but that's
Yeah.
why I'm more like it has to be caramel. I'm starting the movement.
Caramel just sounds a little uppity. A
Yeah, like
little.
I used to say. I always thought it was dialect. I'm like, I think it's a New England thing that
Yeah.
they say. But then all of a sudden I'm down in Florida and people are saying caramel. I'm like, I can't win. Then I was like, maybe it's a Midwest thing, but then I tell people, well, do you make it?
Mhm.
No. Oh, I make. Oh, so then I'll tell you.
Yeah,
And
that's
but then that's the uppity response. So I know that I'm losing the battle in that one. But I only have like 10 pet peeves in life, and that's one of them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I if you say caramel around people in the Midwest, they get upset.
Yeah, it gets me upset. I'm like,
It's like, why are you saying
unless
that?
they're buying from me, they can call me
Oh
what they
yeah,
want.
then
It's
then
like
you can
customer's
then you can
always
say
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Is Willy Wonka your favorite movie?
The third one I really like. The
Which
first
one?
and the third one.
Which one's the third
The
one?
newest one. Timothy. I'm gonna say it wrong.
Yeah,
Chalamet.
Chalamet.
Yeah, I love the first one actually. The second one was just too weird.
Yeah, with
Tim Burton one that
yeah.
with
Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
That one was weird.
but I love it because it was it's a really great way to unfortunately we don't have a chocolate waterfall or Oompa Loompas,
Yeah.
but the factory is just as fun.
So, do you guys give tours in the
Yep.
factory?
Yep.
Okay.
We've been doing that since 2012.
Okay. Okay. I'm assuming you guys give samples if you go on the tour?
Absolutely, only if you're good.
So tell me a little bit about your history and the history of chocolate.
Yeah, great question. So my parents started the company in 1981. So my dad he was born and raised in St. Louis. My mom was born and raised in St. Louis, but he went to college in Ohio, and he found a job working for a candy factory. It was
Mhm.
kind of like a college job, and then
Sounds like an amazing college job.
yeah, and it was really like he told me like he worked at one place and it closed, and he was looking for a job, studied business, and just it was like fell in love with the candy business. And I totally get that because of how I fell in love with the candy, and so did my brother and sister. But
Mhm.
he worked, it was a warehouse job, so very disconnected to making candy, very disconnected to selling candy, and it was just picking and packing orders in a big warehouse,
Sure.
huge warehouse. I was in it one time, and then he just kind of tried other things that he excelled at that, and they had him work in the retail, work in manufacturing, work in sales, and he became out of college. He worked there too. Became one of their vice presidents.
So he learned the whole business essentially.
Learned everything from the ground up. He said because he didn't really know anyone other than his college friends. And as he
Mhm.
graduated college, most people left. So he said he just worked 6-7 days a week and
Yep.
just around the clock. He was dating my mom, so it was for a while it was long distance, and then she was gonna move up there, but then he decided that he really wanted to go back to St. Louis. But what was cool is think of the 80s or late 70s, 80s.
Mhm.
There was no Facebook. There was no all of these social media things that connect the world so closely. So he told them, he was very upfront. He says, listen, I really want to go back. I want to start my own. And they said, well, we'll help you out. So they came in and they had 80 stores in a big factory, but he wanted obviously a much smaller initial concept. So they kind of
Sure.
helped him get going, helped him find the right candy case and find the right chocolate machinery to set up. And then they helped train him. And then he went on his own at 4 years old.
So when he started the business, did he get a loan? How did that work back then?
That's a great question. I know he said he got a loan.
Mhm.
He built the first store, and I know he got
Do
a
you guys
loan.
still have the first store?
No, we moved
Okay.
it a couple years later. So the first the store number one now is on Chippewa next to
Okay.
Ted Drew's.
Yep.
And that used to be manufacturing and warehouse also. So that's all gone and moved to the main plant, but the store's still there. But he told me that he always tells me it's if I've learned one thing that his first business loan was 22% interest in the 80s.
That's fair.
So he always every time we buy something, he's like, "Oh, this is so cheap. This is free money. You don't know how good you have it." I get that a lot.
Well, so my combativeness, and I hear that all the time with home loans, right? It's like, oh, back in the whenever it was like 15%, but I'm like, but the home price made sense
For sure.
for that interest rate.
For sure.
So the interest rate didn't matter as much.
Yeah.
Now home prices, just talking about homes are super expensive. 7% or not.
Yeah,
7% or
you bought a
5%.
$40,000 home and it was 3 stories back in the day.
Right. Right.
I yeah.
And now, yeah, and now my parents live in Lake Chesterfield, and the home right next to them sold, hasn't been updated since the 90s when it was built. It's a ranch, the basement's unfinished, needs to be remodeled, $400,000.
That's something.
And I'm like,
And just I mean, if you wanna put a new kitchen, I mean, that's 50 to
yeah,
100,000 just to touch it.
right.
And it's
It's two
crazy.
people, it's a couple apparently my age, like 30 years old that moved in.
Yeah.
I'm like, I I don't know. And then you look at Zillow now and all the prices are starting to come back down
Are they?
as of last month.
Oh, wow.
So all like I was looking at Wildwood homes and everything's starting to come back down in value. So that home that was valued at 400,000 on Zillow now is at like 370.
See, I was one of those people that refinanced during COVID, and I have a 2.5% interest, so I don't even look at Zillow. I know I'm
W-
not going anywhere for a long
Yeah,
time.
exactly. And if you did, you'd why would you sell it?
Yeah,
You'd rent it.
something. Yeah, I just know that, and I have young kids too, so they're in the destroying the house phase.
Sure.
So I can't go buy anything nicer right now.
Yeah, that's
We've
fair.
painted the house twice. We're not moving for a
Yes.
while. But no, I completely. It used to be a hobby. Like even a couple years ago, I told my wife let's move, and she
Mhm.
was like, she was like pregnant too at the time. She's like, "Are you crazy?"
That's
And
the worst
so
time.
now I'm like, I think we're good for a while.
Yeah.
I'm very settled with that. But that's
Yeah.
funny you say that.
Yeah. So, okay, so the right machinery helped him get started. What was like did he have just a couple candies at first? Like what was the first big like product, if you will?
I think for him, it was two things.
Mhm.
One was he started dipping chocolate covered strawberries every day,
So good.
and that wasn't done in St. Louis at the time. There was
Really?
one other company, Mavracos, which they closed, and then we had bought the brand since then.
Mhm.
Um, they did them like twice a year. So
Interesting.
he did them for he opened February 1st in 1981. Did them for Valentine's. It was a really big deal. So he just started doing them every day, which brought people in the store on a more frequent basis, and that helped. And so then he was able to see more traffic because it's such a perishable day fresh item. If you
Yep.
want them for a party tomorrow, you should buy them tomorrow or
Mhm.
this afternoon. So that really, I think, paved the way for him to try a lot of different things. And then when the Mavracos Candy Company sold, um, he was able to go in and he negotiated a deal to take over all the distribution they had in Schnucks at the time.
Gotcha.
So a couple years into the business, he got all the Schnucks, and he told me, like 2 years into the business, he got a $90,000 check from the infill, and it's still today. If we get a
Yeah.
$90,000 check, that's a huge invoice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do that in the 83 maybe.
Mhm.
I would think with inflation and everything, that should feel like a $500,000 check today.
Yep.
And I can only imagine us getting a $500,000 payment from a customer. So that was a really big deal for him, and then he serviced that account for a long time.
Mhm. So what is your biggest selling product now? Still chocolate covered strawberries?
We sell chocolate strawberry still every day in
Mhm.
our stores. I would say on a macro level, our chocolate bars,
Okay.
we make millions of them,
Mhm.
in 5,000 retailers across the United States, and then our sorted boxes of chocolate. So truffles and caramels are kind of the two big, but then we make like here, this is a caramel filled bar, this is a truffle filled bar, this is caramels and truffles on the inside, this is caramel filled. So those two categories, caramels and truffles, are the two macros, but it goes in a lot of different form factors.
There's something about chocolate and caramel.
I think it's like the perfect combination.
I don't know what it is. Like
We
we were in our office, we put out our candy for Halloween finally. And all we had the candy buckets out for like a week and we never got any candy for some reason. So I was like, what the hell? We need candy. And right when we got candy, I'm like, give me a Milky Way.
Yeah.
I, I
It's
don't I don't I don't know what it is. It's like the perfect combo. I
well, and
don't I don't need any
I
crunch.
work in a chocolate factory there's sometimes 1,000,000 pounds of product at my disposal.
Mhm.
And if I'm traveling, I'm like, I need a Snickers or a Twix. Like there are certain caramel chocolate items that I just have, you
Yep.
just crave. And I'm literally surrounded, or, if I'm at home, I'll obviously get something from, the retail store
Mhm.
100 feet away from my office. But yeah, but no, I get it.
There's just something about it. So how when did you come on board? What was kinda your first job, and how'd you kinda get integrated with the business?
I always
I'm
tell
assuming you've been
people
integrated since
like
a kid.
5 years old.
Yeah. Yep.
I always tell people I started working at like 5, and I really
Mhm.
think I did. I used to love to go in with my parents. My dad would let me like sweep the floor and clean, the belts. So the conveyor belts, the long lines, they take a long time to clean. And so
Mhm.
I remember when I was like 5 or 6, he's like, yeah, you just go get hot water and a cap full of bleach in a bucket. And for some reason, like I have a 6 year old, I would not trust my 6 year old today to go do that.
Yeah.
But at 5, I was cleaning, like taking Clorox and measuring it and pouring it in, and in hot water, all things that you can't, without gloves. Now our team
Y
uses,
yeah.
so,
Sure.
but so I started doing that. I loved, we would work in retail at a young age. I loved manufacturing. We were a retailer and a manufacturer and a wholesaler, kind of all, but manufacturing was my favorite part about it. And I really, we worked in high
So you're a
school.
logistics guy?
I pretend to be.
Sure.
Sometimes I get it right. There's
Yep.
like 1,500 components that go into making all of our products, and the goal is to keep them in stock when we need it.
1,500.
1,500, 1,509. I just looked the other day in our system.
That is a lot.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like this sleeve is one of them, and then the shrink wrap film that goes on the lid is in the base and the tray. So there's a dozen components just to make that product.
Sure.
But then there's some that tray can go into other things too. So there's a lot of overlap. But yeah, so it's a but yeah, it kind of comes with the territory, 'cause if you run out of something and it stops production, then you learn, it's a very much learn by making mistakes type environment.
Sure. And COVID didn't really affect your guys' manufacturing or production, correct?
We were allowed to be open.
Okay.
So there was a day, because we had just bought Bissinger,
Mhm.
big new staff, financing that goes into that, overheads bigger. We had done construction to kind of accommodate. So there's a construction loan, and it was like, oh, you're going to have to close your retail stores.
Yeah.
And then we didn't know what the fate of the manufacturing was. And so they came out that the essential worker, and if it was tied to food, you could stay open. But some manufacturing had to close. We did not. We did have to close the retail for a while. And we thought when that happened, because so many of our customers are in grocery, where
Mhm.
everybody was going to grocery stores. Like, unfortunately, some of the department store candy that we had shipped for Easter, they had to destroy.
Yeah.
It never got put in store. And but we said, okay, well, in a perfect world, all of those grocery stores, people are going into grocery like crazy. We'll have double the business, triple the business, and it fell flat for about 2 months. And we kind of kept emailing the buyers like, hey, I assume you're out of product. Is there anything we can ship you? And they would a week later kind of reply back, be like, I'm literally bagging groceries right now. I don't have time to order. All we can do is figure out how to get bread and eggs, milk,
Yep.
the bare essentials. And so that eventually did kind of come back. But what was really good was the online business.
Yeah.
So Bissinger's online business goes back to the 70s, from direct to consumer catalog mail order.
So we were talking about that beforehand. So they still do the catalog.
Still do the catalog.
That's great.
Seven print editions.
That's cool.
Yep. And I really love that part of the business. Before Bissinger's, we had never made, print, distributed, done anything with a catalog. When we
Mhm.
bought the company, we bought the company, took over in July, and then the marketing team that we work with, who had been on the Bissinger's account for a long time, she's like, "Oh, the Thanksgiving catalog's due in 6 weeks," and I'm like, "I don't even know what we're selling." So I said, "Well, let's just figure it out," and
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
did, and we printed a Thanksgiving catalog on time, and that was a you know learn on the job type environment. We worked with
The best types.
that, and it was a good catalog. I have the first one framed. I really did like it.
That's cool. Yeah.
But and then that was we were good at manufacturing, and we knew how to make the product. One thing before Bissinger's that nobody really knew about us, that so chocolate company has retail stores, and then the manufacturing facility, and our own brand product, and we're in a lot of wholesale accounts. But at that point, about 40% of the business was in private label and contract manufacturing.
Yeah.
So we were doing brands, we're manufacturing for brands that not our own, and they had their own chocolate, their own packaging, their own recipes, their own. And our team knew like a job comes in, you run it to the spec, and then you go to the next thing.
Yeah.
So when we brought Bissingers in, it was just like we were used to, okay, we're going to make this product this way. But the only difference is we happen to just own that brand instead of it being just a private label account.
Sure. That makes sense. So when I'm curious, with how often do you guys ever test and try to see if you can make it better as far as just the chocolate, the ingredients, or I know a lot of it goes back to same with Bissingers goes back to ingredients and recipes you guys been using forever. So I guess when it comes to testing and making new stuff, how does that work?
That's a great question. So Bissingers, for example, we have not changed the chocolate. The chocolate's still made in Europe. In fact, we just got a container full from the other day. And there was this story with the port strike the other day. Someone asked me if that was going to happen, would it
Yeah.
affect it? I'm like, well, we do have 40,000 pounds on the water.
Yeah. So
So,
potentially,
so
depending on where it
potentially,
goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it did come in on schedule. But that has remained a constant. There are some classics like the decorated cream mints. It's a fondant recipe from the 1800s. It's the Bissinger's dark chocolate. It's a sugar decoration. Those we haven't changed or anything. But what you see here, this collection is brand new. It launched in September, and it's done really well. This bar is brand new. This bar is new. This takes the base Bissinger's caramel, which that recipe goes back 300 years. The Bissinger's dark chocolate. Then we had a new mold made, and we painted them with different packaging. So this was a new creation. And then this was a relaunch, something that had been around in like 2006, 2007, and had gone away for 10 years, and we brought it back. So we actually found it in one of the old catalogs. So
Yeah.
we love making and trying new things. Sometimes it's a test just in the retail stores, then
Mhm.
it goes to catalog, and then if it succeeds in catalog, it goes wholesale.
Gotcha. Do you guys do caramel apples?
Yes. We always
Caramel apples are amazing
I
as
just
well.
left caramel apple making. Like,
Okay.
I always people ask me, like, "Do you make caramel apples?" And like, "Yeah, well, why don't you advertise them?" Like, "'Cause go spend a day making caramel apples, you'll understand why."
Yeah, yes, that's true. I was gonna say because I mean, I guess a machine can't. I guess a machine could, but
I mean, I've seen an automated machine, but you have to, like it takes up a whole factory, you have to make tens of thousands a day, and then like, those smaller ones you see at the grocery store, I
Mhm.
think happy, but I think they're automated, but no, ours are it's a we make the caramel in in copper kettles. We hand dip every one, and then they have to sit. And that's really not the hard part. It's packaging them.
Yeah.
So we were, but no, we actually they sell really well in store, and we have probably a week and a half left of them. But
I don't want the nuts though.
it's funny. It used to be like 80%, 90% with nuts, and now it's almost 50. I don't know what's going on with
I
that,
don't know. I just
but
never wanted it.
it used to. I mean, we've seen that because nuts and chocolate are becoming a bigger deal, but
Mhm.
nuts and caramel apples have becoming less of a deal.
Interesting.
We get
I've
more requests for non caramel apples without nuts, which is great because it's easier to make,
Yeah, I was
cheaper to
about to
make.
say it's easier for easier for you guys.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yep.
No, I was gonna say I like the wax. The wax there.
The first,
That's a nice touch. I like that.
yeah. So we were making those. We literally made those by hand for the first couple hundred boxes.
Yeah.
Like we bought the wax, we bought the stamper,
Yeah, stamp. Yep.
and then I found a small like an Etsy shop to make me several thousand. So they're still handmade, just not our hands.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, still handmade. Someone's getting paid to do it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So someone has the job. So what so it's a family business, right? So
Yes,
your
all of us.
brother and your sister are in
And
it,
my
you said,
parents, yeah.
and your parents. How are the dynamics?
So my brother spends 90% of his time in the candy kitchen. So we have
Okay.
our head candy maker is the most talented person and the nicest, most humble person I've ever met. So I've been working with him side by side since 2009. He
Mhm.
actually came from Bissinger's before. So
Gotcha.
he had and he actually is part of the lineage of Bissinger's. His father-in-law was head candy maker at Bissinger's for 50 years, and then
Do
his
you guys have
father-in-law's
like historical stuff down at
yeah.
the That's what I figured.
Stuff
You
that goes
have to.
back 100 years
Yeah.
because Marley's so Brian's father-in-law is Marley. Marley's dad was Carl Bissinger's actual candy maker. So
Okay.
Brian's of the lineage, and so I worked in the kitchen for a while, and then I'm all over the place now. But my brother is pretty much he and Brian are in the candy kitchen all day long. My sister more on the retail side, more finance. So she's handling receivables, she's handling payroll. She's
Mhm.
doing a lot more working with HR, more of the business macros,
Sure.
which is great because I would if I could spend all of my time on product development, that would be in create, catalog, marketing, product development, and being in the plant. I love this national sales though, so I'm always connected to our sales team but I think it's really important because you have to listen to your sales team to what the customer's wanting,
Mhm.
then go figure out how to make it in your plant, and then go figure out how to have the packaging design appealing to so the customer will buy it. So I think that triangle is kind of, what works. And I think there's a disconnect. I feel like a lot of companies, they don't have that person.
Yeah.
So they're like, they'll come out with something, but the factory doesn't know how to make it.
Mhm.
or
Yep.
or the factory makes what people don't want. And they're like, well, why are we growing? I'm
Yeah.
like, because you're not out, so
There's always something about the salesperson, the marketing person, and the engineer, right?
yeah.
The process needs to be streamlined because we always have the discussion of salespeople tell you one thing, marketing person will tell you another, but usually they're both wrong, right? Usually it's something in the middle
Well,
that
and
is the solution.
the worst is too when you have these bigger companies than us that they have this R&D division and they're rogue.
Yeah,
They don't talk to either one. They just like they go make stuff and they're like, this is the next thing. Well, we don't follow trends. Like if all of a sudden the next year's color is going to be red, we're not making all red boxes. Like we're not following trends or fads. We're trying to make sure that what we make reaches the Bissinger's customer or the chocolate customer. Like we have a new product launching next year, which we're really excited about at chocolate. But it has nothing to do with any Nielsen data. There's no IRI data. It's something that we've
sure.
just wanted to create, and we think
What
customers are
is
going to
it?
like it. Oh, it's a big
Can
secret,
can you tell me?
but it has to do with chocolate.
That's what I figured. So you said chocolate bar is one of your highest selling things, which makes sense. What do you think about there's a big thing now with like products, like even whiskey we talked about a little bit before we started, where you have essentially an influencer coming in and pushing a product. So Mr. Beast had, of course, Feastables.
Yeah.
Have you had Feastables? Number one.
I almost bought one the other day. I
Okay.
was at a 7-Eleven and I almost did it, but I still have not had it.
They're not great.
I don't know if it's. I mean, I think there's something with
It's just
chocolate.
annoying when people like that come into a space and they're just like, because young kids are gonna buy it and my following is all young kids, all I have to do is slap some name on a shitty candy bar and people will buy it.
Well, I don't like gourmet. The way gourmet chocolate works, it's a slower process. You just cannot be in a million places and expect it to be premium
Yep.
anymore. I wish you could, because I would love to be in 50,000 accounts and still make a premium product. But there's like this bell curve, and if there's the more growth you have. So as we always try to grow, like we had Bissinger's launched in Barnes and Noble this year, and there's almost 700 locations.
Yeah.
And it was a strategic rollout, and we wanted to make sure we did about 200 stores at a time because everything is premium handmade chocolate. We can't just go make it faster.
Mhm.
And then that program's been doing really well. And the Barnes and Noble customer is the perfect customer for Bissinger's. And we have a full fixture. So it's not just one product or seasonal, it's a full Bissinger's fixture in the stores. And we would like to find more like them, not a big mass retailer. It just won't work for what we do.
That makes
We
sense.
literally hand decorate and hand stripe and these are hand, we always say painted, but it's not painted, it's chocolate. And there's just no way to really make it faster. Um, and of course they're hand packed, and then the packaging, so it's their sleeve that you put on by, and there's some
Mhm.
levels of automation that you could do, but and we have a like little fixture so they kind of display at an angle for better merchandise. You can't throw that on a Walmart shelf. It just
Correct.
won't work.
Does so in retail locations, I'm curious, do do you guys get paid? Well, let's I guess just Barnes and Nobles, for example. Do you guys get paid once that product is sold? And then
No.
they okay, so
In that
they
case, in most of the cases, the big box, we sell it to a
mhm,
distributor,
got it.
and then the distributor will then do the fulfillment. Most of those big accounts don't the direct ship. We have the relationship with the customer, but the direct shipping is not with the customer.
Gotcha, makes sense.
We have a few exceptions, like Hallmark. We ship direct to their stores. Dillard's, we're going in for Christmas and Valentine's. We're going to be shipping direct to their stores because
People
they're
still go to Dillard's?
yeah. You know,
Hmm,
they're really big in Florida and Texas.
interesting.
You know, they're like they're if you go down to Florida, they're all new and modern. You know, they're
Yeah.
much really, and they're not. I mean, as we traveled, and they're
Do
based in
we
Little
have a
Rock.
Dillard's any
We have
front or not Frontenac?
Galleria,
Galleria has one, yeah.
and
And I don't go to that mall ever.
I think they're Chesterfield closed, but it might. I don't know what happened with it, but the whole Chesterfield developments.
I just drove by there last night because I was going to PF Chang's
Oh
for
yeah,
my dad's birthday, and let me tell you, PF Chang's not that great.
no,
No.
I haven't been there in a while, but it was good then. But yeah, I'm a sucker for Chinese food. I love
Yeah. No, there's better places for trying. I was like, I'd rather go to Panda.
it. Oh
Half
really?
half the cost.
Oh, I did Panda for like one of my kids' parties like 6 months ago.
Oh my
I
god.
fed 40 people for like $100, and it was
Yeah.
all really good. I got
I
like 200 crab rangoon. I loved it.
I don't understand. There's still like a price point like pre-COVID almost.
Yeah, they're
Because
like
there's still like $10.
amazing.
Whereas most places have like almost, I would say most food places have increased their costs like 50% over the past 4
Well,
years.
like we're in a chocolate crisis. Chocolate right now in the market is at $8,000 a ton. Last summer it was at $3,000 a ton. So now we
Can
run.
we can't just blame inflation for that, can we?
No, they're blaming a lot of things. They're
Okay.
saying that demand has surpassed supply, and there's some. It's over in Africa, which is most of the West Africa is most of the cocoa is grown there, and
Got it.
but I still think that if you look at the facts that they say versus the reality, the demand is not down by 70%. It's down by like 20. So
Yeah.
speculators have really, driven the price up, and we haven't seen that stabilize yet. I think it will, but we contract a year out, so now we're going into that higher pricing now. So it's the sting has just kicked in.
Yeah. So in that in that circumstance, right, you're paying 120% more than you were
In
on
some cases,
the
yeah.
chocolate. I mean, you have to raise retail prices, right, at some
Yeah,
point.
there's so a box of chocolates, it's say for example, there's I'm trying to, if this is $30,
Mhm.
the labor overhead of making it and the packaging are one thing, and then the chocolate's another category.
Yep.
So if we pay double the price on chocolate, as long as labor overhead, everything else didn't go, it doesn't double the retail price. It may go up. We may have to do we also think it's short term, like a year.
Sure.
So we're taking as a company a margin hit to try to supplement it. So we may
Mhm.
see certain things go up about 10% um, collectively, and we're going to try to hold that.
Yeah.
But it won't. If it continues, if it goes into 2026, then it won't just be us. You'll see a Snickers bar for $5. I mean,
Sure.
because it's everybody is buying under the same commodity.
Well, I mean, I think gas station chocolate bars have been expensive for a while now,
Well, and I think that's why we're
which is crazy.
growing so well because when you see what you had probably expected to be 99 cents, now it's $3, and you're seeing
Correct.
my bar that was $5 and now it's $6. You're like, well, I mean, I'm just going to go buy that,
Mhm.
and so that's really helped us.
Yes. I was going to say, especially when they're coming up closer to your price point, it's a lot easier to say, well, you have this with this ingredients or this actual gourmet chocolate that is going to be way better. Yeah,
Yeah.
people are going to spend a little bit more on that.
Well, yeah, when it was 99 cents to $5, it's
That's
one
harder.
thing, but
Yep.
3.50 to $6, that's
Hmm.
a huge, swing difference.
And I think chocolate is one thing people are willing to pay for, obviously.
Yeah, and especially in the gift giving season. If you have a
Sure.
really premium Christmas box, you'll do that. You buy your Christmas gifts and then it's over. And we believe that we're all we're part of every joyous occasion. So
Hmm.
you splurge for a birthday gift.
Hey there, St. Louis podcast listeners. We've got some exciting news from our friends over at Farmers Insurance of St. Louis, led by the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Lee of Farmers Insurance.
Hmm.
If you're looking for a job or to own your own business under a brand that everyone and their cousin is familiar with, Mark Lee with Farmers Insurance of St. Louis is recruiting insurance agency owners here in St. Louis for their Farmers Insurance Mentorship Program.
And as many of you are aware, Garrett and I have owned quite a few successful and award-winning businesses over the years. And in a past life, one of those was a farmers insurance agency out of Chesterfield, Missouri.
Eric and I know firsthand how hard it is to start a business under a brand that no one has heard of and convince consumers and businesses to trust that you're an authority figure in your industry.
And as many of you know, we own an award-winning marketing firm, Vi Media, the one that Garrett was just discussing. And building that company's reputation literally took years. We're still building it to this day, and it's been 8 years in the making. However, with the Trusted Farmers Insurance Agency name on the building, we got started when we started our Farmers Insurance Agency. The trust was already built and has been for 96 years.
And if you can't do math, that means Farmers Insurance has been around since 1928. Luckily, you don't need to be a human calculator to get rich as an owner of your very own Farmers Insurance Agency.
Nope. All you have to do is reach out to the one and only Mark Lee, the leader of Farmers Insurance in the greater St. Louis metropolitan area.
That's right. So ensure he continues to sponsor our show and your favorite podcast, the St. Louis Podcast, by quitting your job today and calling Mark Lee. I wouldn't even wait for him to answer your call. Call your boss now, quit, and become your very own business owner.
Visit insurancecareerstl.com. That is insurancecareerstl.com. Should we spell it out?
Yes. It would
INSURANCE, career, CAREER, STL.com, insurancecareerstl.com. Go there now. Back to the podcast.
And wait, insurancecareerstl.com.
Back to the podcast. What do you think about edible arrangements?
I've received one before. I thought it was like, I love the pineapple and I don't know how they do all that. There has to be the highest waste factor ever.
I've always thought the same thing, and never made sense to me how they're able to do all of that in one store.
Yeah.
I don't think the chocolate's that good though.
I'm not even sure it's chocolate, to be honest.
Really?
I don't know if it is. It might be because there's chocolate.
Because I've gotten the chocolate covered strawberries a couple times, and I'm like, this is.
Yeah, I mean, because when they're dealing with the environment they are and refrigeration, sometimes there's compounds and coatings. They may use real chocolate. I don't know, but I know I've seen other fruit basket competitors out there not using real chocolate. I can't remember what Edible's doing.
I will say, if you're thinking about using edible arrangements, instead, think about the man sitting in front of you right here.
Yeah,
chocolate,
fresh
or Bissinger's.
in St. Louis.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that's the big thing too. Is like you start to realize the stuff that you buy. There's actually companies that you can support locally, because a lot of people. And again, before the podcast, I think I told you I wasn't aware of like the Bissinger's thing and kind of you guys taking that over, and even just the history behind it, right? And I think talking about it now is going to be nice for anyone listening, because they'll understand not only that, but the people, when you're buying that product, it's going back to people that actually work around you in your community versus you buy a Twix. Who the hell knows? I mean, that's going to Big Nestle or whoever owns that.
We're literally, I mean, our candy kitchen's on the hill, and that's what we're so excited with tours, because people, like today we're making peppermint bark, and you open that factory doors, and you smell mint, and it's, it's authentically, you see it, and then we distribute it to all of our stores and nationwide. We think it's so cool when customers and friends, they're in Texas or California, all over the country, when they send us pictures from, our product out. We always say, finding it in the wild, and that's the neatest thing too. But I mean, it's all locally made here, and it's a big deal for us at Valentine's Day, specifically with chocolate covered strawberries, because we're making it, fresh in St. Louis, and it's all of these companies are advertising, like, shipping strawberries in. I'm like, get it here.
Yeah, I know. I think my someone last year bought chocolate covered strawberries from like Schnucks or something. It was like they were like the Driscoll strawberries. It's like, come on, we could do better. We could do better. We could definitely do better. So, is there any chocolate making secrets that you can share with us?
I think that it's interesting. So, I feel like there's three components. Number one is quality of ingredients is very important. We spend hundreds of dollars a gallon for our vanilla.
Yeah,
it's the best, and it's actually
vanilla's expensive just at a store.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But there's such a difference. Like, I feel like vanilla has one of the widest swings. Like, really bad vanilla is terrible. Really good vanilla, it's you bite into the caramel, you're like, God, why is that so good? It's the vanilla, and it's made with heavy whipping cream, butter, and
Really?
sugar.
It goes back
A
interesting.
lot of that taste, the first taste is the vanilla
Really?
in the
Okay.
caramel itself.
Didn't know that.
And then the chocolate, everything else kind of comes in layers. So really finding the best ingredients, and we use kind of the whole world as our marketplace. And then if I were to give you the recipe, say here's the caramel recipe, I can guarantee your version would taste different than ours
Really?
because the technique is the other half of it. So it's the recipe, or a third really. It's the recipe itself, it's the quality of ingredients, and it's the candy maker.
Hmm.
And those three components make the product. And it's undoubtedly a difference. I mean, from color, from texture to taste, all three are done in the candy making process versus just taking a recipe. Where baking, for example, not that baking's any easier, but it's more binary where mix, process, bake, proof, where
Yes.
it's the first step has to be completed to the second step, where ours are very three-dimensional, linear, so it's a very different process and it's very artisanal in the making of it.
Yeah. So with during the holiday season, or let's say you're looking for something for, let's say you're a business owner looking for something maybe for a client,
Mm.
or you're just looking for a family member or something like that. What should someone be looking at to buy that you guys offer?
I think at the holidays, the assortments,
Okay.
and one thing if you think about like a grocery store box of chocolates, there's like 5 good pieces in there, and the rest is
Correct.
like the filler.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of our pieces, every single one of our confections is purposely, handmade, and it's in there. So we don't put fillers in there. We really strive for balance. So most of these assortments, it's a toffee, a caramel, truffles, creams, maybe a marshmallow. So every, you go through the whole collection and you experience, and there's more of a storyline. Like this one is new for us today, and every one of those pieces was designed and paired together for you to like go through the whole process.
Really? Okay.
And
Interesting.
so, yeah, and the big thing is price point. So
Mhm.
if you say, well, if I want to spend $25 to 50 to 100, so each assortment is designed really to be in a different price point. There's not one better quality or worse quality than the others. It's more about just sizing and price
Yeah.
point now.
How much do you want? I always found it annoying when you get an assortment and they don't label.
Oh, the map. That's like always we have done such a good job at that now
It's like
because
I don't know which one this is.
if we had
It's
like
I don't
90
want the
complaints,
toffee one. I want the caramel one.
yeah, then we really try to consciously make sure
Mhm.
we're labeling for that reason because that's like 90% of all the complaints we used to get. Like there's no map or no product key. So in this one, the product key is actually, well, I don't want to break the seal for you, but but that as soon as you open it, it will have a product key right on the top.
Okay. Yeah, that's always my thing because you'll be at like a Christmas party or something. Someone will open it, and then everyone's like, "I don't know what." There's
We,
like 5 or 6 things, and you don't know what any of it is.
well, I've been doing it for so long, so I used to always be like, "How does 'cause that's the cherry? Everybody knows what that is." But no, they don't. If you don't grow up in a chocolate factory,
We
you
do
don't.
not know.
Yeah, so like that one has salt. Obviously, that's the sea salt caramel. But no,
That one I can okay,
Yeah.
that one you can usually point out, but it's the cherry, it's the toffee. Sometimes they to the eye they look exactly the same.
Yeah, no, you're right. Our pieces are much more like a lot of companies. They're just all rounds or all squares. We
Correct.
use a lot of different geometric shapes on purpose.
Mhm.
But no, you're absolutely right. So we've really worked on that over the last few years.
So I saw the shape of this. So is it harder to make them into so obviously the normal shape is, the square or whatever. Is
Mhm.
it harder to make it into an artisanal shape, if you will?
Um, it can be.
Okay.
The painting process starts where we actually take natural colors and mix it with white chocolate and cocoa butter, and then we pre-paint the molds, and
Got
then
it.
we deposit them. So we can. This one takes a lot of time, but then we put it in we have these Swiss depositing lines that work really well with the chocolate, and we can push them through pretty quickly. The square pieces or the rectangle pieces, those actually are more steps. So we like caramel, for example, or we pour the caramel on big tables. The table's about I don't know about twice the size of this table, and
Yeah.
they're water jacketed tables, and so there's bars on the side that keep it from pouring over, and then they actually run it through a cutting machine, and then they feed each caramel onto the line to cover it in chocolate. So there's a lot of steps. This is actually easier. If it wasn't painted, this would be a much faster process.
There's actually a big Instagram page of some candy shop that always posts videos of him doing it live,
Oh, really?
doing the caramel
I
right in front of a bunch of
my
people.
whole Instagram page is all candy companies. Like that's all I watch. So I'm sure I follow. Like,
I forget. It's an older guy, white hair, I think. Definitely been doing it forever.
yeah,
It's set up in like a corner right there. Yeah. I don't know why those go viral though, but I think there's something about I don't know, it's like glass blowing. It's like people on Instagram watching videos of like spraying like the insulation in corners. It's like people like that. I don't know, that type of stuff. It's just interesting.
I would say the two things that people that I know, or if I talk to customers after a tour, the two macros that 99% of the time that people are saying to me is number one, it's like the factory's so clean. It really
Mhm.
is. You can eat off the floors, and we really, really pride ourselves, and we have a whole sanitation team, and our team is very involved in the cleaning process. And so that's number one. But number two is they always say to me, like, I cannot believe there's so much that goes into it. And they can see the process where we're, for caramel, for example, the journey, we're cooking caramel in copper kettles. They see the guys loading the ingredients in the kettle. Then it has to cook, and they slowly add the ingredients as we cook. And then when it's finished, they pour it onto the table. Then there's another team that's cutting the big sheets of caramel into squares. And then there's three more people. One person feeds the caramel onto the line. One person decorates, whether it's salting
Mhm.
or drizzling or whatever. And then you pack it into a box. And at that point, it's still just a sub-assembly where that then either goes to our candy case where you can buy it out in the case, or it goes into the packing department where it goes into an assortment. So there's just like, it could take 20 people. It could take 30 people just to make one product.
Yeah, that's what I say, to people that ask why stuff is so expensive. Like for like when we build websites, I'm like, it's expensive because you have 10 people
Yeah.
touching stuff and it's timely as hell.
Yeah.
It's literally so timely. So when, someone's like, yeah, this costs whatever, 20, $30. It's like, yeah, but you had 20 people working. Like, you try and make that for 30
I
bucks.
know.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like you try and make that for 30. You won't be able to. You
Well,
won't
and
be
like
able to.
everything's gone up. Equipment costs have gone up. We just put a line in from Germany last November, and it cost about 3 times the cost of the last line.
Yep.
And it's a great machine. It's going to pay for itself. It just runs truffles all day long for us. But you just look at cost. You're like, whoa.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully we can see costs normalize sometime soon. Um Chocolate pairings. What's your favorite? What do you usually say to pair chocolate with?
Well, the short answer is I feel like it pairs with almost anything.
Mhm.
It's like chocolate and cheese. There's a runway for both.
Chocolate and cheese.
Well, chocolate or cheese, but I think
Okay, okay,
chocolate can
okay.
pair with cheese very well.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
never done chocolate and cheese
I
though.
just think the whole charcuterie board experience is good. So you
Yeah.
have wine, salami, cheese, nuts, all of that goes really well with chocolate. I mean, I think chocolate and wine is a natural pairing.
Yep.
I think chocolate and some cocktails go really well. I mean, Bissinger's has, this is a product that we still keep it authentic to Bissinger's. The oranges, it's a half dip glazed orange, and the oranges themselves are candied in France. We pay for them in euros. We bring them over. Talk about COVID.
Yeah.
A pallet, to air freight one pallet of oranges was $4,000.
Oh my
In
god.
2019, it was $1,600. And
Yeah.
then, I reordered because we're selling, and they're like, "Oh, it's $4,000." And I go, "Yeah, no, I know. I already paid that." They're like, "No, that's the product cost. This is the freight cost." Now I'm like, "Oh, this is great."
Yeah. You're like,
That did come
wonderful.
down a little bit, but so that product, and then it's dipped in our chocolate here in St. Louis, but that in a cocktail like an old fashioned. So we're opening in our expansion a coffee shop and a bar.
Okay.
And so we're thinking like chocolate and cocktail pairings, and we're putting a lot of research into it,
Wonderful.
like a lot of research. We have bottles of booze all over the place. But there's a lot of great
So
pairings.
what's your favorite booze? Obviously whiskey. What have you found to be like really good with just
I'm a
milk
Manhattan guy.
chocolate? Yeah.
So, anything with Manhattans. And so really what is like a Manhattan? You
Mhm.
have your bourbon or rye,
Yep,
your
vermouth.
sweet vermouth, so
Mhm.
sweet. And then you're going to have a little bit of bitters,
Mhm.
but then it's about, that cherry
Yep.
or the orange, so the sweetness. So it really is, what is a Manhattan? It's bringing sweetness with the whiskey together. And I think that's like, you can do so much with chocolate. So I think we're working on like a chocolate Manhattan. We're working on a chocolate Negroni. We're working on there's one of the caramels in this new collection. It's called the King Louis.
Okay.
and that's actually a cocktail. King Louis XIV is Chambord and gin,
Mhm.
which gin's like my second favorite spirit. It goes bourbon then gin.
Yep.
But
I'd probably agree with that.
so we made a piece with Chambord and gin and chocolate, and that piece will be like on the swizzle stick when we serve that drink at the bar.
That's amazing. So, okay. So that was the breaking news we were gonna talk about, right? Is this when are you guys planning on having it open for
Summer
customers?
of 25.
Okay.
We just don't know what part of the
Gotcha. Fair enough. You got what, 3 months?
Yeah, well, maybe I don't. What happened was we had the building next door was an old tool and die shop, and we had kind of talked to them over the years and approached them and asked them if they were interested in moving. And at first it was thanks but no thanks, and then it was somewhat interested, and then it was okay if we did it. This is the price we want. And it was like oh shoot, and then we decided we've got to do it. We're getting really tight on capacity on both facilities. The both brands are really growing well, not only locally, but nationally with the wholesale expansion. And then most importantly, tourism is so big, but so we started tours in 2012 and we moved in there. And then in 2019, when we acquired Bissinger's, 50 additional people came over. Some people on the acquisition of Bissinger's, but we now have about a headcount of about 50 people more, plus 4 more production lines. So
Yeah.
the space got tighter.
Mhm.
So it's less of a tour path that we can be on. And then we had to stop tours for 18 months during COVID. So as we came back, it's been more of a limited tour. You still get a really great tour if you come down because you see so much going on. You can see 7 production lines running
Yeah, that's
versus
crazy. Yeah.
2 a couple years ago. So things that you can see a lot more, but the macro thing was like, how do we make a 45-minute experience or 1-hour experience? And it was like, well, if we have like a tours and welcome center that we start in and then have a cafe experience where they can get a cup of coffee, have a bite to eat, go through the tour, then end up in the retail store with more parking. And then the question, with a longer tour route, we have some like our boxing machines that take the chocolate bar and box. That thing, you can watch that all day. I mean, it boxes 1 chocolate bar a second. And like
That's
a million things are happening
yeah.
at one time. So we want to bring those pieces of equipment on the tour route. And then it was like, well, okay, so coffee in the morning. Well, we don't really think coffee is a good thing all day. So then, okay, iced tea, lemonade, I got that. What comes next? Wine and beer.
Mhm.
And so, especially with, I've got 3 young kids, 6 and under. So anytime I can go somewhere with my family and have
Yeah.
a beer, let's do it. So we applied for the liquor license, and then
How was that process? Because I've heard
you get a consultant. You get the right consultant, and then it's
that's what I've been
very
told.
simple.
Okay.
They do all of the work.
Okay.
That's the right answer.
Got
and
it.
I thank God someone told me that because I would still be figuring out how to file the application.
I
without them.
was told, yeah, get someone that knows the exact process that has done it time and time again. Because if you go by yourself and have never done it,
Oh my
chances are
gosh.
you won't get it.
Yeah. Now they are changing it though in the city. Like the signatures and everything we had to do. I think that's going away. But we did get signatures from our neighbors, but I asked the stupid question. I said, "Well, how much more is it to add spirits?" And they told me the price. And it was a tiny number.
Yeah.
And I
So
was
it's
like,
well,
"Oh my God, we're going to open a bar.
yeah.
We're going to open a bar. So now it's going to be a speakeasy."
Hell yeah.
I know.
I
I mean,
love
because what's
this.
the best, coolest bar in the world is a
The
speakeasy.
speakeasy.
So
There-
it's actually going to be hidden.
There's really none in St. Louis.
There's
you
there's like 2 that I know
You
of.
got Thaxton.
Yeah, and I think I've been there before and I think it's cool, but I thought that's only event based. I don't think it's.
Yeah, they're open on like Thursday or maybe
are
just
they?
Friday, Saturday. Well, I went there a couple years ago. No one was really there though, which was upsetting. But
Yeah. We
it's-
hope ours gets.
It's tough getting
well,
people downtown. Sometimes it's I don't know, especially down in that area. It just seems you're right there on Washington or
Yeah.
Cherokee or whatever it is.
I heard the new one downtown though is awesome.
Where's the new one?
It's in City Foundry, Noda.
Oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
been there. I've
What do you
been
think?
there. It was good. It was good. I think some of the prices were a little like I felt like I wasn't in St. Louis.
Oh yeah.
Some of the prices were a little high, and I was like, I'd rather just make this at my house, man. I don't know about $28 for this drink.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They had drinks for obviously like 15, $16. It was good, but parking down there, walking over there, it's all just kind of a pain in the ass. And they
Yeah, and
really
ours
don't.
is
They really don't have any food.
it's still a blur for us because we don't know if we're going to be a late night event or if we're going to be like 5 to 9, but the speakeasy part because of just my love, not only me, my brother, my sister, like our love for this bar, we're building it now.
Okay,
Like
awesome.
we have a office building that's on the property that wasn't torn down, and so it's empty and it can't be finished until we finish the new building. So we're like building the components for the bar, and it's awesome. So we're even though that's months away,
Yeah,
but we're building a bar.
that's very cool. I feel like most bars are not built well. Either there's too much room behind the bar, there's not enough room, the stuff isn't laid out properly for it to make any sort of sense of
I've spent
using
like
it.
1,000 hours on this. I feel
Bar
like on
science.
bar science.
Yep.
And now I go to like a bar and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a stupid amount of content, or that's really smart. Like I'm looking at things and they're like, oh, do you want a drink? I'm like, no, give me a minute, hold on. Like the alcohol has nothing to do with the reason I'm here now. Yeah,
Just doing some research, some
yeah,
R&D.
yeah.
And then you can have your company pay for it.
Yeah.
Swipe. So what's your favorite product personally?
Right now, oh, that's a good question.
Put you on the hot seat.
If I were to go, I'll give you both two
Okay.
answers because two companies.
Mm-hmm.
So chocolate waffle cone caramel bar. So it's a milk chocolate
Waffle
bar
cone caramel bar.
filled with caramel, sprinkled with waffle cone pieces on top. Yeah, say that 3 times fast.
Holy
Waffle cone
shit.
caramel bar.
You hear this?
Yeah,
This sounds incredible.
that's
Oh my God.
that's my ultimate favorite at
Okay.
chocolate. Now I created it, so
Okay.
I'm a little biased too.
Now, what'd you name it? Or that is
That is the name.
Okay.
But I have, and I should have brought one of our bars of chocolate. We have a little number on the front because the back of the bar has the lot number, which is the FDA lot code that we put on. But the front of the bar has a batch code, and the batch codes. This is a company secret. This is the first time I'm telling someone outside of our four. You ready?
Listen up.
So the batch code is a personal number that relates to something internal for the family. So
Gotcha.
I picked the waffle cone caramel bar, so it's that batch code's 917, which is my wedding anniversary. So I
Okay.
did that for my wife and I.
Very cool.
Some of our products have my birthday is the batch code, my sister's birthday, my brother's birthday, some of my kids' birthdays.
Make sure don't use those as passwords then.
That's true. We did this. We did our birthday cake bar, and we did 704 as the batch code. So for America's birthday, July 4th. So we try to be creative, but and then every one of them, like we actually should write down like a ledger because sometimes I'm like, But yeah,
that's my anniversary.
Every one of them. Yeah, the waffle cone bar I remember. But yeah, that one that's on the chocolate side. Bissinger's. I'm really thinking it's a dark vanilla caramel. It's like the oldest product, the most classic product of all the things we make, and it's just so good. It's like 5 ingredients, and it just works.
There's something about just a chocolate bar, and it's break off the little square and eat it.
And I love this one. I always say it that I have these 3 a.m. ideas, and I woke up in the middle of the night like a year ago, and I was like, oh my God, this I want to do a milk chocolate bar, cinnamon and like dried cranberries and candied pecans. I was just thinking all these things for this hot autumn harvest. And then I ordered all the samples. One day I just made it, and I was like to my sister, brother, our head king America, I was like, guys, try this. And so what I did was I made one in milk chocolate, one in dark. And then we decided the milk chocolate one was the better pairing, but they're like, oh, that's great. Like, where'd you see this? I'm like, no, literally, this was just up here. And I had to just go in and make it the next day. Otherwise, I'd forget it. We named it the Autumn Harvest Bar, and 2 years into selling it. But they don't always, the ideas always don't come from me waking up at 2 a.m. I only contribute to the, 20% of the new stuff. But those two, I'm going to take credit for.
There we go. You heard it here. All right. Anything else before we get out of here? Anything you want to hit on?
Thanksgiving's coming.
Christmas is coming. Tell the people where should they go?
So Bissinger's has 3 locations: Plaza Frontenac, St. Louis Galleria, and then on the Hill. At Chocolate, we have the Hill locations, which is the factory. Chippewa next to Ted Drew's, downtown Kirkwood, and then St. Peter's and St. Charles.
Very nice. So stop in, get some chocolate, get some candy. Let's get going. It's the holidays, right?
Yeah. Holiday mode for sure.
yeah. All right, and it's Halloween. Yeah,
Oh,
this
yeah.
I mean, this is the Halloween episode.
There you go. Happy
Oh,
Halloween.
I was gonna wear a costume. Damn it! I completely forgot I was gonna wear a costume today. Maybe we'll figure out for next week. But yeah, this will come out on Friday. So all right, wonderful. Well, that's all the time we have for today. So Dan, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. As always, support local chocolate company and check out Bissinger's. That is all the time we have for today. However, we will be back next week. New episode, new guest, and more of myself. As always, please support Half Coast Studios. We're sitting here right now. You can record here if you're in St. Louis, or if you just need help with editing and distribution, they can take care of you. HalfCoastStudios.com. And as always, the best damn marketing company on the planet, Vi.Media. You'll get the privilege and honor of talking to me. So there you go. We appreciate everyone's support. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Hey there, St. Louis podcast listeners. We've got some exciting news from our friends over at Farmers Insurance of St. Louis, led by the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Lee of Farmers Insurance.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a job or to own your own business under a brand that everyone and their cousin is familiar with, Mark Lee with Farmers Insurance of St. Louis is recruiting insurance agency owners here in St. Louis for their Farmers Insurance Mentorship Program.
And as many of you are aware, Garrett and I have owned quite a few successful and award-winning businesses over the years. And in a past life, one of those was a farmers insurance agency out of Chesterfield, Missouri.
Eric and I know firsthand how hard it is to start a business under a brand that no one has heard of and convince consumers and businesses to trust that you're an authority figure in your industry.
And as many of you know, we own an award-winning marketing firm, Vi Media, the one that Garrett was just discussing. And building that company's reputation literally took years. We're still building it to this day, and it's been 8 years in the making. However, with the Trusted Farmers Insurance Agency name on the building, we got started when we started our Farmers Insurance Agency. The trust was already built and has been for 96 years.
And if you can't do math, that means Farmers Insurance has been around since 1928. Luckily, you don't need to be a human calculator to get rich as an owner of your very own Farmers Insurance Agency.
Nope. All you have to do is reach out to the one and only Mark Lee, the leader of Farmers Insurance in the greater St. Louis metropolitan area.
That's right. So ensure he continues to sponsor our show and your favorite podcast, the St. Louis Podcast, by quitting your job today and calling Mark Lee. I wouldn't even wait for him to answer your call. Call your boss now, quit, and become your very own business owner.
Mm-hmm. Visit insurancecareerstl.com. That is insurancecareerstl.com. Should we spell it out?
Yes. It would
INSURANCE. Career, CAREER, STL.com, insurancecareerstl.com. Go there now. Back to the podcast.
And wait, insurancecareerstl.com.
Back to the podcast.